Valentine's Day is in a few days, and I'm afraid of what's to come. I need a place to tell my story, to warn others. No one else can do anything, but maybe I can help someone else out there. And well, I want to tell my story before maybe it's too late for me to. When I started at university, I wasn't sure how I would feel about sharing a dorm with a roommate. It turns out it was quite a positive experience for me. There are a lot of upsides. One I didn't expect was how it would bring me out of what my parents called my shell. I was able to make friends fast, which is usually difficult for me. Katie, my roommate, has been awesome. She's chill and we get along great. Aside from her need to constantly have her boyfriend over and not warn me until I get back to the dorm, I've enjoyed my time here. Katie and her messy, hastily written notes telling me when I can come back to the dorm were the only real issue. So when I saw one taped to the door a couple of weeks ago, I felt nothing but annoyance and pure exhaustion. It was late. I had had a long day of classes and then a long study session at the library after. All I wanted to do was collapse into my bed. I mean, really, it's 2022. She could at least text me. Why does she take the time to write a note and tape it to the door instead of firing off a quick message? At least I'd know before I got all the way back home and could figure something else out for however long I needed to. This note was different, though. When I picked it up, it was heavier than usual. I opened it to find an actual letter. Something neat and thought out that had a small bag wrapped in lovely, heart-shaped wrapping. I thought it must have been for Katie, an early Valentine from her boyfriend or something. It felt intimate, like I shouldn't be holding it, and I wanted to put it back down. And I went to, but that's when I noticed my name at the top. It was addressed to me. This letter was for me and certainly not from Katie like I was expecting. Haley, I've been a little too shy to tell you how I feel, so I'm writing you this instead. Maybe one day soon I can do this in person, but for now, I just wanted you to know that I think you're amazing. Heart. I had never gotten anything like it before. Sure, I'd had a boyfriend in high school, but that was short-lived and clumsy. Never anything like this. This was a total shock. I've gone on a few dates since I started school, but nothing more than that, and those people wouldn't be too shy to tell me anything. I had no clue who this letter could possibly be from. There was no clue in the writing or in the letter, nothing to tip me off on who my admirer was. It was simply signed with a heart. When I walked through the door, Katie was already waggling her eyebrows at me. She teased me with a practically purred greeting. Hey, lover girl. Apparently, Katie had seen the letter when she got home from dinner, but she said it hadn't been there before when she came back after lunch. She had looked at it and asked me what was in the bag. I hadn't even thought to open it, confusion and excitement still clouding my mind. I took the opportunity to open the bag and turn it over so whatever was inside would fall out into my hand. Cinnamon hearts. The spicy cinnamon smell wafted to my nose the second I opened the bag. Katie teased me a bit more that night, wondering if I'd be sent some jewelry next, wondering who my secret Valentine could be. We were both stumped. The next morning, Katie and I went to the local coffee shop like I do every morning. It had been my ritual since I started school. I always grab a tea and a bagel. It's where we met Ted. He goes to the community college close by and works at the coffee shop. We've become friends with him of sorts. He even came over to help set up and move some stuff that didn't get shipped to me from my parents in time for the start of school. So we had to try to do it ourselves. He volunteered to help and we see him every day. This day, though, I was on the lookout. my mind wrapped in the possibility of who could have sent me that letter and candy. I went to order, and Ted told me my usual was already coming up. When I tried to pay, he said it was on him. He gave me a shy smile. I asked if he was sure, and he said absolutely, that it was on him. On the way out, I asked Katie if she thought that the letter could be from Ted. She asked how I could even doubt it after the exchange we just had. I suppose she was right, and Ted was cute. I wasn't sure I wanted to come out and ask anyone about it, though. The person who sent the letter was clearly shy. I didn't want to guess and get it wrong, make anything uncomfortable with anyone. Aside from telling Wendy, the girl I sat beside and talked to in my film class, I ignored the letter. I figured if the person wanted to be known, they would make themselves known. I had almost given up hope when I found another letter left at the cubicle I always study at in the library. This one caught me off guard. Whoever put it there knows I study in that very spot almost every day. Was it there all day and they just hope I show up and someone else wouldn't get it? That doesn't seem quite right. I felt uneasy then. I wanted to know who was sending me these letters. This one read, "Haley, will you be my Valentine? Heart." Signed with another heart, another bag taped to the bottom, filled with more cinnamon hearts. I showed the letter to Katie. She said it was sweet. She told me to just confront Ted the next day when I was going to see him. I told her I wasn't sure, that it didn't feel quite right to just ask someone. She brushed me off. The next day, when I didn't ask Ted, Katie jumped between us and asked herself, "Hey Ted, have you been the one sending the gorgeous Haley here love letters? And if so, would you like to go out with her?" I was mortified by Katie. "Love letters?" Ted questioned her, looking between Katie and I. "Yeah, asking to be her Valentine and stuff. You want to be Haley's Valentine?" Katie wouldn't give it up. Ted looked at me and nodded, an emphatic yes coming from him. I was shocked. I told Ted I'd text him later. I wanted to get out of there, out of such a public area. It all felt wrong, but I was excited at the same time. Ted ended up texting me first that day. He asked if I'd like to go out that night. I agreed. I figured, why not? He was taking the time to make his feelings known, and he's nice and cute. I took the time to run to the store before I got ready, grabbing some cinnamon hearts to give to him. It felt like a fitting present for the occasion. The date went well. I had fun. We were happy and planned to see each other again. Ted was sweet, and he confessed that he's liked me for a while, but didn't know how to tell me. When I gave him the cinnamon hearts, he thanked me, but he hates them. It seemed odd, but I didn't think much of it. After that, I started finding little heart bags filled with cinnamon hearts in random places. One time, I even found one on my pillow. I was impressed with the effort Ted was going through. We did go out a few more times. We were really hitting it off. Everyone was happy to see me hanging out with a guy, and I was having fun too. One night, we even ran into Wendy and a bunch of my film class friends at a movie opening. We all sat together and talked about movies. Ted kept up, and while some of it was over his head, he still seemed like he was enjoying himself. So when I got another letter, I was surprised. "Roses are red, violets are blue. Why don't you really see me when I'm talking to you?" I found this one in my bag, the one I carry around with me at school. It was possible Ted tucked it in when I saw him the night before, but that doesn't make sense. Why would he do that? I've given him lots of attention, and this note has a whole different tone to it. I happened to find the letter while I was in film class. I opened it and read it, thinking it was some cute love note from Ted. I must have looked concerned. I felt it too. It was an odd note, scary even. Wendy leaned over to ask me if I was all right, so I told her about the notes, and Ted showed her this one. She was surprised to find out I was dating Ted. She agreed it was scary and maybe I shouldn't see him anymore. She seemed worried and a little angry for me, and that made me worried and angry. What was going on? I had to ask him what was up with it. I went straight to the coffee shop after my next class to confront him. I knew he was working. When I got there, he wasn't there. His boss said he left an hour before, that he wasn't feeling well. I texted him, telling him I needed to talk to him, and went home to wait. I didn't get a response. I figured at first he was probably sleeping because he wasn't feeling well. Maybe he just felt bad about the note and didn't know how to talk to me about it. I gave him the night, tried to text him a couple more times, but nothing. That morning, I went to the coffee shop, as usual, expecting to find him, but he wasn't there. The owner was again. I asked him where Ted was, and he said he didn't know, that he hadn't shown up today, but that he was probably still sick. Why wouldn't anyone contact me? I felt so bad, though, at the same time. What could be wrong with him all of a sudden? I didn't want to be narcissistic, but the timing was weird. It didn't feel right to me. Why, right after he sent that note? He was fine the night before, and he had worked all day. It doesn't make sense why he wouldn't talk to me. I sent him another text telling him I wasn't mad about the note, but I'd like to talk to him. I waited some more. Still, no response. I was worried now. This wasn't like Ted. Usually, he'd respond pretty quick. His phone always close by like most people our age. I waited and awoke the next morning to a single cinnamon heart on my pillow. I know I didn't put it there. And Katie hadn't come home that night. Could it have been Ted? But that would mean he was in my room. I tried and call him again. Went to the coffee shop. He still wasn't there. No one else seemed concerned. I went to his place and buzzed up. Again, no one answered. I waited until someone left his building so I could go up myself. The place was quiet, eerily quiet, with no sounds coming from anywhere. I banged on his door. Still, no answer. I was scared. I didn't know what to do. I called the police and I told them I was afraid that something happened to Ted. When they arrived at the building, I told them about the notes, how we started dating. I showed them to them, even the last one that was left for me. I told them about how I was afraid because Ted hadn't been to work and no one has been able to get a hold of him, that he won't answer his phone, text, or door. The police didn't seem too interested. They said he was probably avoiding me because of the notes, but that they would check it out and make sure he was all right. They tried to knock themselves. They tried to call him. Nothing. They got in touch with his boss to confirm he hadn't called into work, and then contacted his parents to confirm they hadn't spoken to him. With that, they were able to get the building manager to let them into his place. The officer told me to stay back. I couldn't, though. Once he walked in, I followed. I needed to know what was going on. Everything in me told me something wasn't right here. Aside from the officer's footsteps, the place was silent. So very quiet. When the officer gasped from the bedroom, it made every hair on my body prickle and stand at attention. I ran over. The officer yelled for me to stay back. I didn't listen. I couldn't listen. There was Ted. Very clearly not okay. Hanging in his room. I went to the station to be questioned after that. They showed me the note that was left on his bed. "I'm sorry," with a single cinnamon heart. The picture of that letter, of that heart, it broke me. They ruled it a suicide. I couldn't understand it. Why would he do that? I know now it wasn't one, though. I got another letter today. I went to class, hoping to keep my mind off of everything. I can't afford to fall behind. I sat alone. Wendy wasn't there. It was a bit of a relief because I didn't feel like talking to anyone. At the end of class, another friend we hang out with sometimes walked up to me and told me Wendy had left something for them to give to me, that she was sorry she couldn't be here to give it to me herself. They told me that she had to suddenly drop out of school, some sort of family emergency. It said, "No one will ever get in the way of us, Valentine." Heart. When I brought the note to the police, they looked into Wendy, but all they could say was that no one named Wendy went to my school and hadn't in a few years, that whoever I sat beside in class must not have been using her real name, that or she wasn't actually enrolled. They haven't been able to track her down.